Milton Sports Hall of Fame is proud to present the inaugural induction ceremony.
Tonelli to Nystrom, he scored! The Islanders win the Stanley Cup!
If I had to look at the things responsible for my life today, it's all about growing up in this town of Milton.
My husband came home early one day from New York. He said, "How long has this been going on?" I said, "Oh, about 4 years."
To be immortalized in the Sport Town Hall of Fame is incredible. This is probably the biggest moment of my life. Thank you.
Welcome the Milton Sports Hall of Fame induction class of 2017.
Where I learned how to lead, where I learned how to win with humility and lose with respect, where I started on a path to the man I would become, and where I became a small part of something much greater.
We contemplated on what my grandfather would want to say to this gathering on this special night, and there's one word that stood out above all others: grateful.
Well, I hope this means as much to him as it does to me.
This is the class of 2018.
I wanted to become a great fighter. That changed, and it became my journey. 55 years.
The greatest rewards I get is when I run into somebody that asks me, "Are you Brad Grant, the guy that owned Milton?" And then proceed to tell me that they played with so-and-so, and all they did is raved about playing in Milton.
It meant a great deal to me to have him start a league for girls, because everything was boy-oriented back then.
So when you sit up here at my age and see these young people going through society, making contributions, bringing something back to the game, coaching, refereeing, you know what? That's the reward. That's the reward for all of us.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2019 Milton Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Here's your host, Chris May.
How many of you right now, be honest, as you just finished applauding, saw me step up here and go, "Oh, it's just that guy again"? Hey, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 4th annual Milton Sports Hall of Fame. How we doing? I know I had all sorts of rules and regulations earlier in the program, but you know what? I love when we play that video at the beginning. And the best part is in 10 years, that video is going to be a feature film. It'll be just that long. It'll be just that long. Because we have so much to celebrate in the town of Milton. I was speaking to Mayor Krantz just a moment ago, and I said, you know, one of the things that I really, truly appreciate about this is there's so many young people here tonight, and you grow up in Milton, and you go, "Where do you live?" "Milton." You know, and it's cool, and you love it, and it's great, and it's a town that continues to grow, but do you truly know the history? Do you know what has come out of Milton before? And I think a lot of people who attend these events are shocked, and I also think those that are watching this on YourTv, Cable Halton, are thinking, "Wow, he came from Milton? That's unbelievable." And every year, it's a brand new surprise. So we're really happy and fortunate to be joined this evening by some of the living members from the Milton Sports Hall of Fame for the years that have come before us. For instance, from 2016, we have from the athlete category, Scott Hogarth, who's here tonight. Scott's here. Thank you. And we're going to hear from Scott a little later on tonight. From 2017, we have some members this evening from the EC Drury Spartans wrestling team. In the athlete category, I was talking to him earlier, we have former NHL goaltender Peter McDuff, who's here tonight. That's cool. And we have a collection of people who took time out of their busy schedules to come here from last year. From the 2018 year, in the athlete category, Bob Krantz is here. He better be here, his brother's here. In the builder category, Brad Grant is here. That's awesome, that's cool. Jim Leeworthy is here. I was talking to him earlier. You saw him with the lacrosse stick earlier. And in the team category, we have some of the members of the Milton Merchants who are here from 2018 as well. Those are the Hall of Fame inductees who are in this Hall of Fame right now. For those of you that saw the curtain drop on 2019, we have 5 brand new ones here tonight. So, being piped in right now to the room by our piper, Mr. Dave Punton Jr., please welcome to the Milton Sports Hall of Fame the induction class of 2019. In the athlete category, we'll get started in a second. Here he is, Dave Punton Jr. In the athlete category, Mr. Neil Teague. In the builder category, Jim Ridley, represented by Penny Ridley. In the builder category, Leon Stickle. In the builder category, Janet Campbell. And in the athlete category, Darren Haydar. Your induction class of 2019 on the stage at the same time, everybody. How about it? And at this time, I would like to welcome to the stage the chairman of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Joe Jaworski.
Well, thanks, Chris. Remember last year we had that bad snowstorm this night? Well, I want to thank Chris and the Weather Network for having the storm a couple of days ago. It worked out well for us this time. So I am Joe Jaworski. I am very proud to be the chairman of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. Hall of Famers and 2019 inductees, family, friends, and supporters, on behalf of the Board of Directors, I welcome you to our 4th annual induction ceremony. Thank you to all of our generous sponsors, including sports groups, businesses, individuals, and the many, many volunteers that are here tonight. The purpose of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame is to honor and celebrate outstanding achievement in Milton sports by athletes, sports teams, and builders. Milton has always had a passion for sports. With the support of schools, clubs, parents, and teachers, and of course all the fans, Milton has produced many successful athletes, teams, and builders. The class of 2019 have all excelled in their chosen sports, not only at the local level, but on the world stage as well. The Milton Sports Hall of Fame is a non-for-profit organization. The board of directors are listed on page 2 of your program. These ladies and gentlemen are all volunteers. The board receives nominations from the public, does research, elects inductees, and produces this induction ceremony. Tonight is the result of a year's worth of fundraising to put on an event fitting for this class of 2019. I personally thank them for their dedication and hard work. Please join with me in thanking all the board members. If you are interested in becoming a board member, please see me after the show or see one of the other board members. We can always use some more help. And just to let you know, nominations for the 2020 class are now open. You can look it up on our webpage, and you can nominate people for the 2020 ceremony. A special thanks goes to Janet Davidson. She is the liaison between the board and the town. We also thank the town for the partnership that we've had over the past 4 years, especially for the wall space here in the Milton Sports Center, allowing us to create the Milton Sports Wall of Fame that you've all seen out there. A special shout out also to Lindsay Ripper. She created tonight's program, and she updated the video monitor out in the hallway. So if you have a chance after the show, take a look at the videos of the past inductees and the new inductees, and there's a couple of new things on there this year. So please join me again to thank the town and all the volunteers who make this event possible. Sports has given tonight's inductees the opportunity to play, to participate, to shine, and to teach others. Their commitment of time and talent are an inspiration to all of us, especially to the youth of Milton. This past summer, we started a sports camp, a fundraiser for the ceremony tonight, and an opportunity for greater experiences for Milton's youth. With the help of professional coaches and volunteers, those participants were exposed to a variety of sports. The success of that camp was way beyond our expectations, and we are going to be doing it again. You're going to find out more about it in a few minutes. So tonight, as we reminisce about the achievements of our inductees, it's important to think of our youth and helping them to succeed in their lives. The ones who are now just learning the nuances of their favorite pastimes, the ones who are discovering their true passions, the ones who are ultimately will experience the reward of working hard, playing hard, and demonstrating good sportsmanship on and off the field of play. In conclusion, on behalf of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame and everyone here tonight, we congratulate and thank the class of 2019 for their contribution to sport in Milton. I invite everyone to sit back, relax, watch, and listen to the stories of this year's inductees. So thank you very much. And I now would like to welcome to the stage our mayor, His Worship Gord Krantz.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for that. And Chris, thank you once again for emceeing this excellent program there. And Joe, on a personal note, thanks to you and the volunteers that really make this happen. And again, as mentioned by the MC, it's a little hard to see out there, but I know that there's a number of my colleagues that are here with me tonight. So if they'd be so kind enough to hold their hand up and be recognized, because I take all the credit for everything goes well, but it's a partnership. I think Joe mentioned that as well. The town of Milton, the council is solidly behind the best kept secret that there is in probably the globe with regards to the athletes that are from Milton, and that was mentioned there just a few moments ago. And it's just an opportunity to recognize those individuals. And of course, I know, as Joe and the volunteers know, there's still a lot of drilling down that has to be done to find those people out there, both past and present. We know they're out there, and at some point, whether it be 2020, 21, 22, whenever, those individuals are going to be recognized for their achievements. So again, Joe, to you and the volunteers, and Chris, thank you. And Chris, I know I'm on a short leash here. I got 2 minutes, and I think the clock is ticking. I'm handing it back over to you. Thank you very much, and enjoy the evening.
It's your town. You got all the time you want. All right, you know what? The mayor and council and representatives who are here tonight, and thank you so much, by the way, for all of you. There was a lot of hands that went up back there. Thanks for taking time out of your schedules to be here. We also want to thank sponsors, because it is impossible to put on a show that just gets bigger and better every year without the generosity of and the support of sponsors. So let's take a look at our screens right now. Our platinum sponsors, Milton Minor Baseball Association, please. And the Milton Minor Hockey Association, the Winterhawks. Let's go to our gold sponsors now. Active Transport Incorporated, Ads at Work for You, Gavcom Media, who, by the way, this place looks as gorgeous as it is because Gavcom plays a massive role in making sure that it looks this beautiful. Intrigue Media, big hand in this, Manulife, the Milton Old Stars Hockey Club, Spring Ridge Farms. What can we say about Spring Ridge Farms that hasn't been already said? I was speaking to them earlier tonight, and they said, when was the last time you visited us? I said, well, when my son wasn't 17, but literally every Easter egg hunt every year was at Spring Ridge, Milton. I do remember one in particular where it snowed, kind of like what we had the other day, and the poor workers at Spring Ridge were walking around with like I'm talking hundreds of kids, all crying because they couldn't find the eggs because they were buried under the snow. And the employees were trying to kick the eggs out from underneath the snow. So, hey, there's another one over there. Oh, big surprise. But I want to thank you for that. Big part. Vanderholt Productions, thank you. Wayne H. Guard, and the folks that put this on television for us, YourTv. Our next list of sponsors, the silver sponsors, J. Curry Plumbing, Mattamy Homes, Milton Soccer Academy, the Milton Springers Gymnastics Clubs, Ollie's Roofing. Yeah. Roofing. Is that who you were cheering for? Orange Snail Brewers, who are just over to my left over here. If you like your microbrew, might I suggest Orange Snail? RDC Networks, Scooters Catering. Thank you, Scooters Catering. The food is awesome here tonight, isn't it? In the green room, we get exactly the same thing you get, but the green room food is also, thank you so much for that. Side Effects Graphics, Tiger Images, Ultimate Window Tinting. Yay, tinting. And Vinbon. If you've heard of Vinbon, right? The place where we would have known, our generation knows that you go there to make your own wine, but they are now Milton's own, sort of, if there's a microbrewery, they're a micro vintner, and they're providing all of, yes, yeah. You're the only ones drinking wine? So thank you, Vinbon, for being here tonight and also supplying all of the wine for our event. Big hand for them. Thank you. Back to YourTv for a second. I want to thank Rory Narayan, because he's the producer of all of the induction videos that we're going to see here tonight. So big hand for Rory. That's a lot of work that goes into these. And Anthony Luongo for producing the actual TV show portion. He's the producer of the television rebroadcast that you're going to see when you get home. So thank you again, Anthony, for everything you do every year. Thank you. So it was mentioned by Joe earlier, this past July, the Milton Sports Hall of Fame was pleased to launch a new youth-focused initiative called the Journey to the Hall of Fame Summer Sports Camp, providing an avenue for healthy, active living and inspiring our next generation of Hall of Fame inductees. It was taking place at Robert Baldwin Public School. The camp was run by a brilliant team of volunteers and led by Greg Olorenshaw and Simon Vanellis. Let's take a look at the video from this past summer.
Come on in, take Whitney. Come on in, take Whitney. There you go. Good job. Good job.
Isn't that great? Two takeaways I have from that. First, thank goodness Murderball's still alive. Am I right? And secondly, where was giant volleyball when I was a kid? Where was that? That looked like way too much fun. A ball the size of all the kids put together, and they had to throw that one over the fence. So while there were many incredible camp athletes, the Milton Sports Hall of Fame selected 3 individuals as male and female sports camp athletes for 2019. I'd like to call Joe back up to the stage, and I'd like to call up to the stage at the same time Ben and Finn Kilburn, as well as Liv Olorenshaw, please. Thank you so much. These awards serve for these young athletes as a future taste of what entering the Milton Sports Hall of Fame would be like. How'd that feel, guys? Did you like that? That was pretty cool, huh? Did you like that? Next year's camp will be held from July 20th through the 24th. So let's keep that in mind. That'll be the second time. So if you didn't know about it for year 1, I totally get it. But now we're telling you, YourTv. We're telling you. July 20th to 24th. All right. Our first inductee this evening, inducted into the athlete category, is Neil Teague. Born in Derry, Northern Ireland, Neil Teague moved to Canada and first started his softball career in Omagh in 1975 as an 8-year-old, and after an esteemed 38-year career, he retired from competitive softball play in 2013. As a hard-hitting righty from 1994 to 2013, Neil enjoyed major successes, including 5 national titles, 3 provincials, 2 Ontario Amateur Softball Association elimination titles, and went on to Canada's national men's softball team. Neil has also shown his commitment to the sport off the field as well by founding the Teague Mac Kids Charity Softball Classic, netting over $125,000 to support McMaster's Children's Hospital in honor of the care given to Neil's family during the difficult birth of their son. From 2007 to 2014, Neil also founded the Teague Spring Training with the pros events in North Carolina, Florida, and Nevada. These events raised funds for McMaster Children's Hospital and local children in need. Neil's impact extends well beyond Canada's borders. At spring training with the pros in Florida in 2014, he inspired one young man with autism, then 18-year-old Taylor Duncan, through Neil's culture of acceptance, teamwork, and inclusion to found Alternative Baseball, a nonprofit that brings baseball to teens and adults with autism and other special needs. In 2017, Neil was inducted into the Ontario Softball Summit SPO Hall of Fame. Let's watch now this video on Neil Teague.
For Neil Teague, softball wasn't just a sport. It was just simple fun for him and his friends.
Being immigrants from Ireland, we didn't see baseball and softball all the time. And I saw my friends were playing it, so I started playing down in Oma and playing at the Oma Ball Yard there, and just loved the sport. Right when I get into it, loved it. It was my friends that attracted me to it, and then the sport itself.
When Neil wasn't playing for hours on end at Oma Park in the summer, he was honing his skills in the winter.
So softball for me was a year-round thing, because I could go down to the basement, throw a ball on the wall, and put targets on the wall, which I did. I was a pitcher. And I'd be down there for hours, and I'd come up soaking sweat. But for me, that was my summer sport, fall sport, winter sport, spring sport. I kind of grew with the game, and I loved it.
As the years passed, the close-knit softball community helped each other sharpen their skills.
And when it came to the game, I'd look at my teammates' swings and see what was successful in them and try and mimic them. I never really got that moment where I said, you know what, I'm pretty good. I was just playing. And I happened to be surrounded by friends who were pretty good at it, I guess. So your peers, you set the bar with your peers, and we were equal in that sense, I guess, as we grew up.
Neil settled into pitching, loving the pressure at every moment of the game.
I just love the challenge of playing the game as a pitcher and as a hitter. And let's face it, you're playing outdoors on a summer night. That's kind of cool as well. There was no, really, as a pitcher, there was no let up in the game. You didn't go and play another position and not have a ball hit to you for 4 innings. You're in every aspect of the game as a pitcher.
After winning provincial titles, Neil went to the next level with the Brewers, where they won Softball Canada's National Championship, the biggest tournament in the country.
When we won that in 2006, I was with a team that I played for 3 or 4 years. I developed some really good friendships, so it was a pretty awesome experience to share that with them. And my oldest son was there too, so when I was traveling, if I was playing in Winnipeg or if I was playing in New Brunswick or whatever, my kids didn't usually get a chance to go. And to have my son out there and my wife out there was pretty exciting.
Neil solidified himself as a staple in the Canadian softball community, winning multiple titles and even being inducted into the Canadian Slow Pitch Hall of Fame. But if you ask him, the real prize was the time he got to spend with his teammates, just as he did years ago at Oma Park.
Playing softball, sometimes you move from team to team. You maybe play with this team this year and another team next year. And when you're doing it, it's just part of life. Your circle of friends, the places you go are part of it. You don't think you're doing anything different than anybody else. And to see later on, as I've seen now, that to be inducted, you're thinking, is it really worthy? Is it? Because it was just part of life. It was just what we did. But it didn't feel special what I was doing at the time. It just felt like playing ball.
Please welcome to the stage, inducted in the athlete category of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, Mr. Neil Teague.
Thank you very much. I gotta put on my glasses. I can't read without them. Thank you very much, Chris. First off, thank you for the scheduler allowing me to go first. There's no way I could back clean up for this incredible group of inductees. I'd be more than happy to bat lead off and set the table for this team, however, and I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, Drew. Great job. Recently, Darren Haydar and I were texting each other about this night, and Minnie jokingly asked me if I wrote a speech for him yet. I replied yes, and here it is. Hi, I'm Darren Haydar. Google me. Thank you and good night. That's all he needs. Me, I need quite a bit more. I'm not going to stand up here and speak too much about myself. Instead, I'm going to speak a little bit more about perspective, thanks, and being something to someone. Since June 27th, 140 days ago, when Drew told me I was being inducted in the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, I've been floating. After all, there really is nothing quite like being remembered by your hometown. It is both my honor and privilege to have my name join the incredible group of names on that wall. And the honor is not lost on me, thank you. I'm still floating. Excuse me. I played softball, initially fast pitch and eventually slow pitch for 38 years. I was fortunate enough to have played 19 years of Senior A. I've taken part in the World Championships. I've been a member of our national team. I played in 15 national championships. I medaled. I was lucky enough to medal in 9 of them. I was inducted in the SBO Hall of Fame in 2017. I even met my wife through softball. No doubt, when it comes to softball, I've been pretty blessed. Excuse me. Sports offer many things to an athlete. During my time tonight, excuse me, I'm going to touch on a couple of life lessons that sports has offered me. Be something to someone. Be a positive inspiration, be a mentor, be a coach, be a builder, be something to someone. When I think of the Milton people who have taken the time to be something to someone on the local fields of my youth, names like Doug Jervis, John Eves, Doug Larish, Art Brooks come to mind. Be something to someone. That simple idea, which you saw in the video, was lived out in real time. Sorry about my runny nose. Lived out in real time this past July 1st at the first annual Milton Sports Hall of Fame camp, the journey to the hall. I was fortunate enough to be asked by the organizing committee to participate in the baseball softball day there. And I watched organizers, fellow campers, and camp leaders being something to someone. It was really cool. As a parent, as a coach, as a member of our community, we can all do something. Find out what your something is and be something to someone. To the Hall of Fame committee, sponsors, volunteers, and partners, doing all you do to remember, respect, and celebrate the sports history of our town, thank you. It's greatly appreciated. To the builders and associations who created opportunity for all of us and gave us a place to play, thank you. To my U12 bats, there they are, my girls of summer. You all keep this game fresh for me. Thank you. To my mom and dad, they're somewhere here. They're there. Among the lifetime of thanks I have for you, thank you for showing me and inspiring me to truly understand that if something is worth doing, it's worth doing to the utmost of your ability. Thank you, and I love you. To my kids, Sydney said I was going to cry, and I said I wouldn't, but she wins. To my kids, Aaron, Aiden, and Sydney, you keep me young. I love being your dad more than I could ever tell you. Thank you, and I love you. To my wife, Melanie, softball brought us together. I met her through softball, actually. Softball brought us together, and our love keeps us together. Thank you, and I love you. Joe, I went over my 3 minutes. I'm really sorry. In the spirit of life lessons, and in this day and age of political divisiveness, I'll wrap up my time on the stage with these words. Perspective, it's a noun, a particular attitude or a way of regarding something, a point of view. Does anyone know, and my girls should know here, does anyone know how wide home plate is? Oh, come on, seriously? 17 inches. For softball, for baseball, for t-ball, for college ball, for Major League Baseball, it makes no difference. It's 17 inches. Now think about this for a moment. As a pitcher, I must claim it. I must claim that 17 inches. As a hitter, I must protect it. As a base runner, I've got to touch it. As a catcher, I've got to enlarge it. As an umpire, I've got to see it. 5 different views, 5 different needs, 5 different meanings, 5 different perspectives, all while looking at the same 17 inches. If there's one takeaway you can have from my words tonight, please let it be this. What may look the same to all of us does not always mean the same to all of us. Take a moment and see that 17 inches through someone else's eyes. Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Neil. You know, all of our inductees will be around afterwards because we do have a reception that happens afterwards. You've got to check out the size of Neil's ring. That is huge. You know the rings we saw in the video? I think he's wearing just one of them. He's not pulling a Patrick Waugh on us, but he is wearing one of them, and that's a masterpiece. Can I ask you one thing though? The batting cage you had in the video, is that in your basement? Okay. How does your wife feel about that? So we can talk afterwards, because I have a broadcast studio and voiceover booth in my basement. My wife hates it, and it's an ongoing struggle. I want to find out what I can use to justify the means. So thank you very much, Neil. Our second inductee of the evening, inducted in the builder category, is Jim Ridley. Jim Ridley is baseball. He is Canadian baseball. He's Milton baseball. He is baseball, period. Jim dedicated the better part of his life to baseball, no matter its form, no matter its level. It permeated his life through and through, from work to family and then to fun. After 2 seasons as an outfielder with the Milwaukee Braves in 64-65, 1964-65 kids, there was a 19 at one point. Just, your parents can tell you all about that afterwards. Jim Ridley returned to Canada, where he would have a significant impact on baseball for the next 40 years. While continuing to play in the Intercounty Baseball League, where he was named League MVP in 1974, Jim launched his storied coaching and scouting career. He began as a part-time scout with the Detroit Tigers before quickly joining the Toronto Blue Jays in 1976. That was before they became the fielded team in 77, to run the club's very first tryout camp in Utica, New York. In his 26 years as a scout with the Toronto Blue Jays, Jim was the driving force behind the decisions to sign Canadians like Paul Spoljarek, Rob Butler, and David Carenti. Jim also served as a coach with the Jays affiliate team in Medicine Hat from 1978 to 1980. As a highly respected coach at the local level, Jim also led the Canadian junior national team from 1983 to 1988, guiding them to 2 bronze medals at the World Juniors. He also coached the Canadian Olympic baseball team in 1988, and 3 years later, he managed the Canadian squad at the Pan Am Games. In 2002, Jim served as a scout of the Minnesota Twins, and Jim sadly passed away in 2008. And each year, the Canadian Baseball Network presents the Jim Ridley Award to the country's top scout in his memory. Oh, and a Milton Sports Hall of Fame fun fact for tonight. Jim Ridley was fellow inductee Darren Haydar's gym teacher and cross-country running coach at Sam Sherritt Public School back in the 1990s. And now for something truly special on our video screens. Legendary former Toronto Sun sports writer Bob Elliott and Bill Bachowski, who used to be Ridley's boss back when they worked for the Toronto Blue Jays, both sat down with Rory from Cogeco to tell stories about Jim Ridley. Let's have a look.
Having met him when I was a teenager, I mean, he had quite an impression on me, first of all, because of his knowledge of hitting. And I thought it was incredible how much he knew about it and how much he helped me. And then later on, us coming back together again, he was our hitting coach on the 88 Olympic team. So again, we were back together. And the best part with Jim is that his baseball knowledge was outstanding. And it didn't matter what level of baseball it was, Jim loved it. And his commitment to the game was second to none. And that's what I mean. He helped so many kids at so many different levels. He helped kids, get into pro baseball. He helped a ton of kids get college scholarships. And he helped a ton of kids just enjoy the game. And it was really his love of the game that really came through when he walked on the baseball diamond. You could tell he loved the game.
Well, he was just a straight up, honest, straight shooter. He worked very, very hard. He was laid off in the purge there of 2002. He ran the first Blue Jay tryout camp in '76 before they even had a team. I remember I was watching a game at 9th Line with him one night, and I went to the washroom. I spent like the first 7 innings talking to him. I went to the washroom, I come back, and Rid says, so how are we doing? I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, did you get in the car and turn on the score of the Blue Jay game? So even though they let him go, and he was working for Minnesota, it was still, the Blue Jays were still we to him, which I don't know if I would be that forgiving.
One of the saddest things I ever saw was Jim and I, we were in Florida, and we were leaving for a game, and he used to wear those Australian hats. I can't remember.
Cowboy hats.
Yeah, Australian cowboy hats, and that was his pride and joy. And you knew Jim was coming a mile away because you could see him with his hat on. And Jim got in the car one day, and we drove away, and he didn't realize that he left his hat on the top of the car. And I never saw it. We drove back to try to find that hat. I never saw a guy so upset and desolate that hat was imported from Australia, and that was his pride and joy, and it just blew away in the wind.
In 2002, Alex Anthopoulos, the Expos hired him to scout Canada, or promoted him to scout Canada. And the scouting world is a very close-knit, like you gotta earn your bones or whatever. Like they're not saying, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the club. I was so happy to see you. He said, I remember asking Alex once what his first year was like. And he said it was like the new kid at school. He walks into the cafeteria, he's got his tray, and nobody saying, come and sit with us. And he said, except for Jim Ridley. He said, here, come on over and sit here with us. He told him, he said, you gotta go to this tournament. You gotta go to this tournament. This guy, he overrates his pitchers, but he's really good on his position players. He didn't give him any secrets, but he said, you should go to this tournament. You should do this. So he was very helpful, and he says, he made me feel quite at ease. And then after the first year, he drafted and signed a couple of guys, and he was respected after that.
He could handle all the situations. He was great. And not only that, the players respected him because they knew he was knowledgeable. And he was so easygoing that he was very approachable. That's what made him so effective as a coach and as a scout, because when you're dealing with coaches and you're dealing with parents and you're dealing with players, you have to have some feel for what you're doing, and Jim, certainly did. He was well liked, wherever he went.
Accepting Jim Ridley's induction into the Builder category of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame is Penny Ridley.
Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, members and board of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, I'm here speaking on behalf of the Ridley family, which is Shannon Ridley-Kalbarski, who's here this evening, and Jeremy Ridley and Shane Ridley. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here this evening, but send their thank yous. It's a great pleasure to accept this award and this recognition of our father's contribution to the sports within this community. Baseball was his first love. But he also worked with young students at both Stewarttown and Sam Sherritt Middle School, as we found out, coaching girls and boys, basketball, volleyball, baseball, cross country, many other things at the school level. He helped to advise many young athletes within this community and the Halton area of the potential of sports, whether in the baseball draft or in the college, going the college or university route. He traveled extensively in Canada's youth team, coached the Blue Jays minor league team and the Medicine Hat, and coached Canada's first baseball team as a demonstrator sport at the Olympic Games in Seoul, Korea. His accomplishments were many. Jim Ridley, our father, always advised that young athletes should hone their skills, should develop their physical abilities and their mental awareness. But he also stressed the need for education, just in case things don't work out. And finally, he noted that all athletes be respectful, honorable, and gracious in both victory and defeat. Thank you for recognizing and honoring our father, Jim Ridley, as a contributor to this community sports development in the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Penny. Must have been pretty exciting in 1976 to take the reins of a brand new Major League ball club and one that was coming to Toronto, finally coming to Toronto. They tried a number of times to get a team, and the Blue Jays finally happened. Jim Ridley was right there at the helm of that, so that's amazing stuff. Our third inductee of the evening, inducted in the builder category, is Leon Stickle. Leon Stickle has spent his entire life in hockey, starting out as a young minor player before his esteemed 27-year career as an NHL linesman. But Leon's hockey exploits weren't the only ones to fill the local sports pages. Leon was an avid baseball player as well, suiting up for the Milton Intermediate Red Sox in the 1960s when he was a teenager. In the summer of 1964, Leon hit one triple to tie the game for the Sox and then hit a second triple for the Milton Midgets to help win that game just 3 days later. After starting with the Sarnia Junior B Legionnaires, Leon also excelled for several seasons in the OHA Junior C Milton Merchants hockey team. We've recognized them before here, where in 1965-1966 he was among the team's scoring leaders. He often teamed up with fellow linemate Craig Brush, who is the son of Milton Sports Hall of Fame inductee Dave Brush from just last year. During his NHL career, Leon officiated 6 Stanley Cup finals, 2,069 regular season games, 206 playoff games, 2 Canada Cups, the 1979 Challenge Cup when the Soviets came to town, and the Rendezvous 87 tournament. He also officiated 4 NHL All-Star games, including 1975 in Montreal, 1978 in Buffalo, 1983 in Long Island, and in 1997 when it was in San Jose, home of the Sharks. Leon continues to be involved in hockey today, working with the Ontario Hockey League and Central Hockey League to develop younger officials just starting out in their careers. Let's have a look.
Leon Stickle's first time on the ice stems from his early days in Toronto.
I lived on the Lakeshore. There was an arena there called Faustina Club, which is now the Lakeshore Arena. Started skating there and playing in kind of a pickup youth hockey organization.
But his love for hockey didn't really blossom until his family moved to Milton.
It was a smaller town then, so everybody was into the same game at the same arena at the same times, and that's the way we grew up. Milton has always been a great hockey atmosphere. It's always been a great sports town. But hockey was always the number one thing, and we grew up with each other, we knew each other, we went to school with each other. So it was a real life experience also.
Leon became involved in organized hockey at the bantam level and is part of the Milton Merchants.
Those were my formative years, bantam, midget. We played in all parts of Ontario. The town of Milton was well known all over as a good hockey town. I guess looking back now, I was the same as every Canadian kid. I wanted to be a hockey player. I tricked a lot of people for a long time before I found out that I couldn't play.
The Toronto native transitioned into reffing games for the OHA. After getting married and deciding to start a family, Leon received an unexpected invitation to an officiating training camp for the NHL.
It came as a complete surprise, and then the big surprise happened 2 weeks later when they offered me a contract.
Leon officiated many historic games, some alongside fellow Milton Sports Hall of Famer, the late Bruce Hood.
Well, coming from a town like Milton and being in New York City, for the first time, I think I was more awe-inspired with the size of the buildings looking up than I was with what I was supposed to be doing that night for hockeys. But Bruce led me around for my first game ever in professional hockey, and I remember being on the ice with him when the Montreal Canadiens beat Boston Bruins for the Stanley Cup. When they were awarding the Stanley Cup, we were standing side by side, and I remember looking at Bruce and saying, two guys from Milton, can you believe this?
With an NHL career spanning 40 years, Leon has a lifetime of memories.
As far as the officiating career, it was something that totally took me by surprise when I started doing it, and to have it develop into a career, it was a bigger surprise. And to have the longevity I had worked out very well. It provided a good living for my family. It was I met a lot of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. I met a lot of great people on the officiating side of the business that I still have in contact with. The luck that I had to be able to pursue that and to accomplish the things that I did accomplish, and I wouldn't change any of it. So that's the way I feel about it.
That was awesome. Please welcome to the stage, inducted in the Builder category of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, Leon Stickle.
Well, firstly, Neil, I'd like to say that Darren contacted me too, and I've got the second line of his speech. And it goes, hi, I'm Darren Haydar. Anyway, firstly, I'd like to thank the committee for including me in tonight's festivities. I feel very honored to be with the other four inductees. We cover quite a few areas of sports. I was trying to think, when we were getting piped in there, I think for the first time ever in my life, I was piped into a room full of people. Being on the officiating side of things, I was so used to being drummed out of a building. So it was kind of nice. I was thinking back of how this whole thing started, and I have to go back to 1957 when my father and mother put my sister and I in the back of a 1949 Monarch in New Toronto and told us that we were going to look at our new house. It seemed to take forever to get here. I think it was about 45, are we there yet? And finally we pulled up in front of my dad's Pride and Joy on the corner of Bell and Heslop Road in Milton. I didn't know at the time that what we were doing, moving to Milton, was probably the greatest gift that they could give me. I've made many lasting friendships here. I'm not going to cry, Neil. Baseball players cry, hockey people don't. But anyway, to this day, I think that was the greatest gift they could have ever given my sister and I, was the ability to grow up in a small town and flourish. As I found out as we went into our first year of living here, if you were male and you didn't play hockey, then there was something the matter with you. I was fortunate enough to live 3 doors from Dave Brush. Dave's son and his daughter are here tonight. We all grew up together. Dave never took no for an answer when he wanted you on one of his teams. So that was the start of everything. The one thing about Heslop Road, when I think back on it, was you couldn't actually live on a better street. Your public school was at one end of the street. One of the greatest outdoor natural ponds that froze all winter long was at the other end of the street. And you walked across the street and through some horse barns, and you were in the fairgrounds and by the baseball diamonds. So it worked out to be just everything you'd ever want in living in an area. As the years moved on, I became part of a group of guys that we all grew up together and played sports together. We went through Pee Wee, Bantam, midget hockey. But being from a small town, we were also the baseball team, and later on we were the high school football team. So if we had one bad year in baseball, we tried to pick it up in high school football. If you had 2 bad seasons, hockey didn't stand a chance. Around the time that I was midget hockey age, another gentleman came into my life. He was a longtime sports promoter in Milton, promoted everything that moved, was Mr. Cliff Houston. And he thought, and thinking back on it, I'm not sure if he thought I was not that good a hockey player and I should think about refereeing, or if he wanted me to just expand in my knowledge of the game. But what I did was, as soon as he mentioned that we were getting paid to do the games, I grabbed the challenge. When we finished midget hockey, there was a juvenile team in town, but the same name arises again. Dave Brush appeared on the scene and got together with some local businessmen, and formed the Milton Junior C Hockey Club, which took the name Merchants and was Merchants after that also. I was fortunate enough to play there for 3 years. We had a great group of guys. We had some success across the province. But that was when I really found out that my days of dreaming of being Gordie Howe were over. I didn't realize that a lot of other people knew that long before I did. So at the end of that career, and I had been refereeing some minor hockey while I was playing, I thought about seriously trying to get as far as I could in the sport, and lo and behold, I went through the OHA program and ended up at a training camp in Brantford, Ontario, along with Brian Lewis, is another gentleman that's here tonight, and signed a contract. And that was the start of it all. I was very fortunate to have a long, pretty much injury-free career. I left, I think I was around 49 years old when my knees said that was enough, and I was getting ready for the next phase of my life. That summer, Brian Lewis, who had come off the ice himself and was starting into the administration end of the National Hockey League, phoned me and talked me into taking a job in the southern United States in the Western Professional Hockey League. So I had to look at the map and find out where San Angelo, Texas was, or Little Rock, Arkansas, or Shreveport, Louisiana, because they were all teams in that league. But I ended up staying there for 5 years. I ran the officiating program there. We were fortunate enough to have 6 or 7 of those officials move on to the NHL at a later time. And at one, I was thinking about retiring again, and actually in reality I did, but then I was offered a job with the National Hockey League. So here I go again, more nights in the hotel, more travel, and that lasted for about 12 years, counting 5 in the Central Hockey League, which was the WPHL, and the National Hockey League was another 12 years after my career. It was time to say thank you. It's been a great experience, and it's time to move on. And since that time, I've been working with a Ontario Hockey Association at one point, and now the OHL for the last 7 years, working on the development side of officiating, a game that I love. And I can track it back to the town of Milton from day one. I have friendships that have lasted forever, with all the people I played with here, and people I run into around the country that are from Milton. There was nothing greater than to walk into Nassau Coliseum in Long Island and look at the stats and see John Tonelli, Milton, Ontario, or walk into Milwaukee or Chicago and see Darren Haydar, Milton, Ontario, or walk into Detroit or Colorado and see the Peter McDuffie, Milton, Ontario. That was probably the highlight of a lot of things for a lot of us guys that grew up here. I'd be very remiss if I didn't mention my wife, who's put up with me for 52 years. I'm fortunate enough to have my 2 daughters here tonight, my 4 grandchildren, who are totally amazing, the best grandchildren in the world, you know. And I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the town of Milton. I'm sorry, Gord, that I took some of your time. This is a real honor for me tonight. And drive safe, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Leon. I feel your pain, because growing up, I too wanted to be a professional hockey player. Maybe not the Gordie Howe. I wanted to be more the Wayne Gretzky. I was of that generation. And yes, I do remember you as a ref, as a linesman, because I also remember Brian Lewis, watching him in his career as well. So the hockey thing didn't work out for me either. I wasn't even geared for officiating. I was more geared for being an announcer. So my friends would be like, you know what, maybe sit this shift out. So because I sat almost all the shifts and the entire games out, I had to do something. So I'd sit on the curb and I would do play-by-play. But that's where I used to love the fact, I used to love when they used to put the names on the back of the officials' jerseys, because I would work that into my patter when I would like dream up these magical hockey games that were playing out in front of me with my friends, and I'd give them NHL names, but there always had to be the officials, and that was the Brian Lewises, the Leon Stickles, the John D'Amicos, and the Bruce Hoods. So yeah, the officials were as big a part of my life as all of the rest of the hockey players were as well. So thank you very much for all the service that you provided. Thanks. Our 4th induction of the evening in the builder category is Janet Campbell. And the crowd goes wild. The Halton Gymnastics Club was founded in 1973, and in 1975 saw a vacancy in the head coach position. After a lengthy and unsuccessful search, Janet Campbell, the light they had so longed for, these are quotes that was given to me, it was a quote, arrived in 1977. Although she had no experience at running a club and was fresh out of university, Janet was a previous gymnast and had a determination to succeed that made the rest of this whole story history. In the early lean days of the club, Janet would sometimes hold back her paychecks just to keep the club afloat, setting up and taking down the equipment every night, far cry from the expansive facility that the club has now at this Milton Sports Center. Oh, there should have been an echo on that just now. Janet spent 30 years as the head coach and chief administrator for the Milton Springers Gymnastics Club, only adding an office manager in 2003. Janet was a member of the Ontario Gymnastic Federation and was awarded an honorary life membership upon her retirement. The Federation recognized the Milton Springers Gymnastics Club as the Club of the Year in 2006 out of 195 clubs in this province of Ontario. That's right. Janet's impact on generations of Milton athletes cannot be overstated and has seen success in their post-gymnastic careers, including Travis Garrett's Canadian Olympic freestyle skier, Vicky Chislick, head coach of Towson University Gymnastics in Maryland. Sydney Townsend, national junior team, and that's just a few I'm going to mention here tonight. Janet's career has been highlighted by numerous accomplishments, including provincial coaching chairperson, Ontario representative to Gymnastics Canada, Ontario Gymnastics Federation Award chairperson, Central Region provincial coach, Ontario Gymnastics Federation honors for years of service, and the Athena Award and provincial judge. Let's have a look back at some of her career now.
Even in retirement, Janet Campbell still makes the occasional appearance at her old stomping grounds at the Milton Springers Gymnasium.
The current athletes that are being produced here would blow your mind with some of the skills that they do. I give them tons of credit.
The evolution of gymnastics is something Janet has seen with her own eyes, starting from her early days, first being introduced to the sport when she was just 12. She then competed in high school and during her time in university. Janet later moved to Guelph and worked as a phys ed teacher.
And the Halton Hills Gym Club was looking for a head coach, and they called the Faculty of Education at the University of Toronto and asked if there were any recent graduates that had a background in gymnastics, and they gave them my phone number. So that's how I got working for the Halton Gym Club, and then the following year we changed our name to the Milton Springers, and then I was here for another 29 years after that.
The Milton Springers struggled financially, but the coaches and parents all pitched in for the benefit of the kids.
Coaches, including myself, had to wait for our wages. It was a lot of work on a lot of people's part. When we first started, we had to put out our equipment every night and bring it back in because we had to rent high school space. Parents that went out and found us our first facility so that we could actually have a permanent setup, so that our kids actually had a chance. It was a group effort by way more than just me.
The club flourished, and the Springers quickly became a dominant force of gymnastic talent felt around the continent. The Toronto native's efforts made her a recognizable figure in town.
When I first came here, I actually found it a bit dismaying to be able to go to the bank and have people recognize who I was because their children were in gymnastics. And by the time I finished 30 years later, that was one of my favorite things, is the fact that you just became connected to the community. And Milton, somewhere along the line, stopped being just a place where I worked and started being my home.
Janet has multiple awards, including a Special Achievement and Special Recognition Award from Gymnastics Ontario. But her real pride is her students.
I am most proud of my athletes. I mean, that's number one, how they've all gone on to be wonderful, constructive adults, whether they're in sports or not. But my feeling for the club, the assurance that Milton Springers is one of the finest gym clubs in the province, if not the country. Certainly the facility is great. It's just a wonderful feeling to know that you had a contributing part in that.
Please welcome to the stage, inducted in the Builder category of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, Janet Campbell.
It's such an honor to be standing here this evening. Congratulations to all inductees, past and present. I'm delighted and a little bit awed to be in your company. And I want to say thank you to the Sports Hall of Fame Board for accepting the nomination that was sent in on my behalf by some of the amazing parents I've had the opportunity to work for over the years. I want to say a special thank you too to Rory Noreen. He's the videographer who created that video we just saw. He made me look and sound so much better than I was on that day. Some of you may recognize this, especially tonight when I'm nervous. My mouth runs a little fast, but my brain was running a little bit slow, so there were a lot of ums and wrong word choices that he managed to cut out. He also had me doing a segment where I was looking at the scrapbook, and instead of the memories he was trying to get me to invoke, all I could think of was, I wonder how many chins are showing right now. He wisely decided not to use that part in my video, and I thank him for that. But he said he was there to make me look good, and I think he did the best he could. But even his magic couldn't make me look 23 again, which was the age I was when I started at Milton Springers. When I was hired, I had never run anything before and really didn't have a clue what I was doing. But with the arrogance of youth and the passion of somebody who found her calling, I just jumped right in. But I did not do it on my own. If it takes a village to raise a child, it certainly takes a community to build a gymnastics club. And by community, I mean communities, lots of them, starting with the town of Milton itself. I couldn't have asked for more or better support from the town staff or the town council. Mayor Krantz came to so many of our functions, we actually had to make him an honorary Springer, and even taught him to walk the balance beam at one point. The gymnastics community, too, had a hand in building the club. I did a lot of volunteer committee work for Gymnastics Ontario and Gymnastics Canada, but they offered me many opportunities to learn and grow. Some of my athletes here may remember when I would come home from a club visitation or a clinic or workshop that I had attended. I'd be so excited by what we had learned, I'd immediately toss out the program they were working on, we'd all do something new. They followed me on that journey, and we had so much fun learning together. Coaching staff, too, learned from me, but they taught me as well. Many, if not most, of our Milton Springer coaches were former athletes themselves, and it was heartwarming to watch them transfer their love of the club and our sport to a leadership role when they finished as participants. Gymnastics is a foundation sport, so all children benefit from some kind of instruction, especially at an early age. I was so fortunate to have 3 wonderful women run our preschool programs. Karen Card, then Pat McVicker, then Marg Alexander ran Kinder Gym during my years. Yeah. I couldn't possibly have matched the commitment or patience for that age group. But I think I owe even more thanks to my 2 assistant head coaches. Vicki Lansborough joined a couple years after I did and worked tirelessly by my side for many years, making next to nothing. Then the incomparable Linda Massel came on board when Vicki left. I don't think there's a job at Springers that Linda hasn't done. She and Bart started off as coaches of our advanced rec team, and Linda eventually became my assistant head coach. They became parent volunteers when their daughter Val joined our team, and then Linda went on to sit on the executive in many roles. She was our club's first administrator and is now integral to the club as the general manager. Yeah. But for me, she was a sounding board who shared so many of the coaching responsibilities with me. I looked to her for advice and I leaned on her for support. Still, I have to say the biggest partners I had in building the club had to come from my community of parents. When we first started, as you heard on the clip, we had to set up and take down our equipment every night because we worked out of the local schools. But my parent group did that. When President Betsy Horn finagled our first facility from Larry Arbeck town, it was most of the old fire hall on Main Street. My parent group cleverly renovated that to be a workout space and then had to take on the job of both cleaning it and maintaining it after that. Carolyn Keyworth oversaw our move to our next facility on Alliance Road, and I can still see her and John leading by example up on that giant scaffolding as we had to paint the wall between us and the next unit. Then Karen Anderson led us to our home on Nipissing, and finally Sandy Bennett was the president who brought us here to the Milton Sports Center, and our future was secured like never before. But really, all my presidents were wonderful people, volunteering countless hours to shouldering the responsibilities that come with that position. And they would be the first to tell you they did not do it alone either. There were treasurers and registrars and meet directors and heads of committees and parents who just showed up. I couldn't have survived without my equipment dads. So many people who made contributions. I cannot name you all tonight, but believe me, I do remember. The biggest sign of support they showed, though, was the trust they gave me to make a contribution to the lives of their children. Coaching is a bit of a balancing act between encouragement and correction, both demanding and forgiving. I can only hope I got that balance mostly right most of the time. Money was incredibly tight during the time I was at Springers. It was a constant source of anxiety and discussion at our executive meetings. We had to fundraise like crazy. I'm sure some of you remember bingos. Oh my word. But selling almonds and wrapping paper and doing car washes and selling hot dogs and running meets and dances, oh my. We had to cut out any kind of frill. We had to patch our equipment. We did without, had to hold our paychecks, and one year I even had to loan the club some money to keep the doors open. I took athletes to every town fair and function. We did endless mall and school demonstrations, trying to increase our registration numbers so it would cover some of our costs. A gym club is a big area, so it costs a lot to run them. All this effort, of course, was made to reach our primary goal, which was to introduce gymnastics to the children of Milton, from recreation to competitive and all steps in between. And for a small, struggling club, we had a good deal of competitive success. We had girls make teams to provincial championships at a time when very few were eligible. They shone a bright light on our efforts, and they represented us so well with fine performances and results. Bridget McCann even went to Ontario Winter Games. I'm sure that everybody in this room believes in the positive influence participation in sport can have on a young person's life. But gymnastics, it's my sport. It was our sport. A few of my girls, have found a similar passion for it and have gone on to pursue careers in gymnastics, and not surprisingly, they are very dear to me. Many more are in related fields, perhaps inspired by their time at the club. But the vast majority of my athletes have gone on to lead lives that have nothing to do with sport even, although I am grand coach to many of the children who are following in their footsteps at Springers now. But way after chin-ups and splits were part of their daily routine, and kips and saltos are just memories, they still remember and practice qualities like resilience, self-discipline, goal setting, time management, how to be a good loser and a gracious winner, that failure is just a feedback loop to success. They are strong, confident women who in their turn are building our communities today, and I couldn't be more proud of each and every one of them. And yes, I'm proud of myself and my 3 decades at Springers. As my wonderfully supportive husband would say, it was a lot of work, but it was a genuine labor of love. And I'm so happy that the story at the Milton Springers Gymnastic Club is going to be included in some way in the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. I, along with so many others, helped set it up for the success it is today. It is now one of the finest clubs in a beautiful facility filled with outstanding athletes, and all here in the great town of Milton, and we should all be proud of that. Thank you so much.
Oh, Janet, it will be marked in the pantheon of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, because as you leave here tonight, if you're exiting through the main doors, if you take a look off, you have all of those big placards that are the induction plaques for all 5 of those inductees. That stays up for quite some time, and the Milton Springers is going to be right there, emblazoned on that wall, and then forever. Once we get into the next class, it goes down. You'll see them for 16, 17, and 18. The smaller plaque that still has all of the inductees before that. As we go year by year, that's still going to be there. And eventually there's going to be this massive wall of fame for all the years we do this. Milton Springers will be there forever. And rightfully so. Our final inductee of this evening, inducted in the athlete category, is none other than Darren Haydar. Overcoming challenges, overcoming adversity, themes that have come to define the life and career of Darren Haydar. Darren really began to turn heads in his 3rd season with the Milton Merchants, setting league records with 71 goals and 140 points, a time when Hockey Night in Canada's Ron McLean, who referred to him, said Darren was just unbelievable. With back-to-back league titles and a Dudley Hewitt Cup in hand, Darren left Milton for the University of New Hampshire, where after just 1 season, the NHL's Nashville Predators selected him in the 1999 entry draft. The crafty and cerebral winger would go on to lead both the Milwaukee Admirals and the Chicago Wolves to Calder Cup titles. Along the way, he featured in 23 NHL games for Nashville, Atlanta, and Colorado. In 2008, his future wife, Sarah, was diagnosed with cancer. When she laid her beat it before Darren began to experience multiple sclerosis symptoms in 2012. But Darren continued to excel in Europe before coming home and organizing an annual golf tournament for the MS Society. He continues to give back through the Milton Hockey School, and to say that Darren is one of the greatest AHL players of all time would be an understatement. There he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Darren Haydar. No, I'm kidding. Kidding. Yes, he was commemorated on U.S. Bank's Bobblehead Night for the Milwaukee Admirals, and that's a Calder Cup that he holds above his head. Numerous AHL records and accolades are paired with his name. Rookie of the Year, All-Star, League Scoring Champion, League MVP. The stick and puck he used to break the longest AHL scoring streak of all time is preserved in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Challenges? Sure. Adversity? Yeah. Now he is somebody that other kids will look up to in the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. Let's have a look at this video.
Former AHL All-Star Darren Haydar spends his days playing sports with his 3 sons, just as he was introduced to his first love when he was a kid.
I was a rink rat. We were there quite a bit of time, and I brought my mini stick and played alongside. And then when I got old enough, I think I just started watching the game and reading the game and started to understand and loved going to watch my brothers play.
Darren made his way into organized hockey. He quickly found his knack from a young age, even completing an undefeated season with 50 wins on the Milton Minor Novice AA team. But the budding star wanted to be a part of Milton's flagship franchise.
I grew up watching the Milton Merchants, going every Friday night, and for me, we always looked forward to going to the rink that night and watching the older guys play. And for myself, going into high school, became one of them. And fortunately for myself, I got to play with my brother Jeff on the team. He was the captain, and we were a pretty good team. We went to the Royal Bank Cup, and our owner Brad Grant put together a great team that gave us the opportunity to go play for the Canadian Championship.
The Milton native moved south of the border to the University of New Hampshire on a full scholarship, playing in the NCAA. Darren was awarded Rookie of the Year and played for 4 seasons before being drafted by the Nashville Predators, playing for its AHL team, the Milwaukee Admirals.
Guys are trying to fight, and they're trying to show themselves to try and get to that National Hockey League level. And 15 years ago, the game's a little bit different than it is now, and guys had to do whatever it took to get to that level. And for myself, I played on some good teams, some teams that had some fighters, and they took care of that business, and I took care of the scoring.
Despite being undersized, Haydar quickly stood out amongst his peers, winning the AHL Rookie of the Year and winning his first of 2 Calder Cups in just his 2nd season. Darren holds an AHL record of scoring 79 points in 39 consecutive games. He also has a postseason record of 63 goals and 143 points, the most in AHL history.
To win the Calder Cup, that's why we play a team sport. You're in it to play at the end, playing with your teammates. You know, I was always taught that with team success will come individual success. So for me, if our team was going to do well, then I would get some recognition along the way if I was doing my job as well. So I think that's one of the things in hockey is, you know, everyone wants to score the goal, but as long as the team's winning at the end of the day, if we get to celebrate and hold that trophy over our heads, to me that's the reason why we play the game. Otherwise we'd play an individual sport.
Although the AHL All-Star had a few stints in the NHL, his longest tenure was with the Atlanta Thrashers, where he scored his first NHL goal.
One of the highlights of my career, but you know, when you're going through it, you think you're going to score 100 more, especially when you're confident. And you know, I have the puck, I have the game sheet, and it's something that I cherish.
In 2011, Darren was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and sustained a back injury that forced him out of the season. He played for 3 more years in Europe and got to represent Team Canada at the Spengler Cup in Switzerland. But as his hockey career was closing, it was time to settle down with his family.
Having 3 kids, traveling through the airport. The one year we had 23 pieces of luggage along with the dog kennel, our whole house, it felt like. We felt like a little bit of a circus going through the airport.
Now back in his hometown, Darren still coaches and works on skills development with younger athletes. Throughout the hockey community, Darren is known as a great teammate, a scorer, and a winner.
One of my main strengths playing was that I was a playmaker. I saw the ice extremely well, and setting up my teammates. I always got more satisfaction out of my teammates scoring than myself scoring. And then in the playoffs, for whatever reason, I seemed to elevate my scoring numbers. I just tried to make the play that was available, and if it called for a shot, it called for a shot. If it called for setting up my teammate, you know, I was there to win the game and help our team win.
Please welcome to the stage, inducted in the athlete category of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, Darren Haydar.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Thanks to the board members, the committee, all the people that put this event together, all the volunteers. It is a wonderful event. This is useless to me right now because most of it was said in that video. I should have watched that before preparing. Congratulations to the other inductees, past inductees, and to futures. I grew up in Milton. A lot of this is in the video, but I'm going to go over a couple things that to me are important growing up in Milton. I grew up in Milton believing Friday nights were hockey night in Milton, watching the Merchants play. And Saturday nights were for hockey night in Canada, watching the Leafs lose. I would lay in front of the fireplace with our golden retriever, watching the games. I did actually at that point with Doug Gilmour there, I did like the Leafs, but not so much over the last few years. They are turning. I'm starting to become a Leaf fan. I'm starting to believe, as some people would say. Fondest childhood memories were definitely going to watch my brothers play. I would watch as a coach from the stands, dissecting plays and learning that side of the game. I think that's one of the reasons, and one of my biggest assets as a player was definitely understanding the game and where the puck was going to go. And I think it was Gretzky who said it best, that he was looking for the next play where others were looking behind. So that was something that I learned watching my brothers play. The next thing I wanted to bring up, and something that I watched a long time ago when Roy Halladay was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, I always remembered his speech. And I took it to heart. He said, a lot of people have the desire to win, but the difference is the price you're willing to pay in order to have a chance to win. I was definitely smaller. I had to sacrifice. I had to do what it took to win. And that meant, for me, doing extra things, working hard, staying away from the bottle, and putting myself forward to do my best. The one thing I now tell all the kids that I work with on the ice, I tell them that their parents can't want it for them, I can't want it for them, that they have to want it within their own heart. And if I remember my dad if I was coming home from a game, I would never get in trouble unless I took a dumb penalty and wasted his time. So I didn't get in trouble for my play, I didn't get in trouble for anything other than taking a stupid penalty and wasting his time going to a rink. So I tell all the kids to become the best them that they can become. And favorite words of my dad's, you have to have heart and to hustle. So I tried to follow those things anytime I was on the ice. I wanted to give some special thanks tonight to friends' parents, all the parents that carted me around, took me to games, were part of teams that I played on, to the Bertolis, the Roys, the Wilsons, and others. With three boys in our household, I was usually carted off with somebody, or one of us was carted off with somebody else for weekends, for tournaments. And thank you to those that helped out with that. My friends, in Milton, we have a special bond. A lot of you are here tonight. Most teams I played on, my teammates always wondered where my entourage was, because I had friends that followed me wherever I went, whether it was in the American Hockey League, Europe. There was always someone there to come watch. And it just shows what a town we live in Milton. I think that all my teammates that I played with, they were jealous because their friends and their families weren't as, if you want to call it, as fortunate or able to come watch. I always appreciated having someone come to visit from home. It made me feel like I was at home, even though you are away. Thank you to all my former teammates and coaches. Last year, our Merchants team went into the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. We were fortunate to have some good teams there. I'll get to that in a minute. And then you saw in there the minor novice AA team, which went undefeated. Some of you guys are here tonight as well. That's a great feat, and now that I'm coaching with some coaches in town and playing or coaching with some of those coaches, it's about the process and about growing from day one of the season to the end. And in that time, we were fortunate to win all the games, and I think we grew as teams because every year we seemed to be at the top, and we were fortunate to play for some pretty good coaches, Mr. Bertoli, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Kitchen, and along with my dad. But the one coach that I played for that had some words of wisdom for me was John Anderson and Todd Nelson, who are still coaching today. Todd Nelson called me and Jason Krog into the room one day, and he said, Darren, are we the best coaches that you've ever coached? And I thought about that for a second. If you think about it, back in a time when you didn't really talk back to coaches. I'm not saying we talked back to coaches, but they had an open door policy, and they allowed us to communicate with them. And they always said that, are we the best coaches that you guys coached? And it was Jason Krog and myself. And for us to be able to walk into the room and have an open door policy, because some coaches say they do, but to be able to communicate. So I'm big on communication with the kids that I work with on the ice. I want them to come in. I want them to talk to me. And I want to be able to pass on the wisdom that I've learned over the years. A lot of the next up was in the video. I want to thank Mr. Grant. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to play and the platform to showcase myself while being on a very competitive team in Milton, making it to the Royal Bank Cup. I appreciate that. It was, I guess, what led me to the scholarship at University of New Hampshire. You put forth your best to put the best team on the ice, and we tried to capitalize on that. My brothers, Ryan and Jeff, for putting me through the ringer at an early age. I'm sure I deserved most of the punishment I've received from the two of you, as I'm sure it toughened me up a little bit. Thanks for being supportive later on in my career, my college days, and my pro career. You guys always stood up for me. Whenever anyone told me I was too small, that was some adversity I went through. When body contact came around, I remember the whispers of parents talking that I wasn't going to be there. Well, I am small. After all, my nickname is Minnie. But I was going to give you everything I had on a nightly basis. And, that was a little nudge and a little bit of extra push for me for the following years. John and Heidi, wish you were here for my playing days. We're extremely happy to share in the love of the game of hockey with you and to have your family and to have you guys in our lives. My other brothers who lived with us while playing for the Merchants, Travis Riggin, Matt Van Arkel, and Rydas Ivanins. I later played with Rydas in Milwaukee, and we won a Calder Cup. He played with us here for the Milton Merchants, and it was nice to see someone like Rydas to play with him later on in my career. Mom and Dad, my biggest inspirations in getting me to the level I achieved. You both should have received honorary degrees from the University of New Hampshire after spending many weekends and all the miles you put on to come and visit. which they came most weekends. They came quite a bit, and again, it was nice to have somebody from home coming to support. All my friends from town, they made the effort to come out, and they came, and some of them I feel like they attended the university as well. Mom and Dad, I'm grateful for everything you sacrificed to allow us to play the game of hockey, or to play any sport for that matter. You guided me in my career to the best you could, and I only hope that Sarah and I can pass that on to our kids. And then lastly, to Sarah and to my kids. We've battled a lot of adversity, as you saw in the video, and I hope that we can keep that moving forward in terms of continue battling in life, into leading our kids along the path along the way. We traveled the world together. We spent Christmas and New Year's in Switzerland, and we were fortunate we had our first son while we were playing in Munich. So we now have 3 sons, Liam, Quinn, and Owen. And before I babble on, 2 of them are sleeping here tonight. Maybe the third, I haven't seen him in a while, so he might be sleeping as well. The last thing I wanted to leave with tonight was a quote from Todd Richards. He's now a coach with Tampa Bay Lightning. His quote was, "You remember the ones you win with and not so much the ones you lose with." And tonight, I feel like this is a huge win in my life and going into the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. I wanted to thank everyone for coming tonight and supporting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Darren. You're a fine representative of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame and for this town as well. Thank you so much for that. When you saw the video, it was obvious that the Milwaukee Admirals bobblehead wasn't the only one he had. He had the Chicago Wolves. But the Milwaukee Admirals bobblehead, that was actually the version of it that they went with, but there were proofs. And we actually reached out to Milwaukee, and they sent us the proofs of the ones that, I know it's funny that you laugh now, but they sent these along. So this was young Darren. That was Merchant's Darren bobblehead. They thought, well, maybe we'll go with the one when he was, still battling prepubescence. We thought, let's try it. Let's try the pimply one. They went, no, maybe not. How about this one? There it is. That is Movember Darren. Movember Darren. That was another one. They were close. That almost made it. But then they thought, looks a bit too much like Wendell Clark. There might be confusion. So they went with the one that they used. So I think they made the right decision. Thanks a lot, Darren. I'm going to make sure I know exactly where he is at the end of the night, so I go the other way. The Chicago one had a little more stubble, did it? As we bring this evening to a close, we'd like to bring up to the stage right now. It's become a tradition here at the Milton Sport. Well, we couldn't do this until year 2, obviously. Is we bring somebody from the inaugural induction class to say a few words and to officially welcome the 2019 class to the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Scott Hogarth.
Wow, I do have a speech in my pocket, but I was sitting here listening to what everybody was saying. We have an unusual sense of community in our town, and our mayor is one person that's responsible for the majority of this. He's been the longest standing mayor of anybody in Ontario, and Gord Krantz is absolutely an amazing human being. He's sat behind me. He's fulfilled every time I've asked him to attend an event, he's done it. He believes in our community, and my God, it's very special that you did so, and thank you so much. And Joe, what can I say? This is your baby. Certainly not mine, this is yours. And your forethought brought this to a real position here, and Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now I'll reach into my pocket and see if I can read this without spitting it out. All right. As one of the original inductees to the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, I would like to first congratulate all of last year's inductees, as I was recovering from my second hip operation, making me a double titanium hippie. I mean, go figure, right? And it just wasn't in the program for me to attend the ceremony. But here we go. The Merchants hockey team, Jim Leeworthy, Dave Brush, rest in peace, Brad Grant, and my good friend and Budo brother, Bob Krantz. Man, we've been around a long time together. We watched each other grow old and older, and I'm loving it. Thank you so much. It comes to you as you read the bios that no one here did any of these things easily or without sacrifice and great forethought. Darren Haydar, a hockey player dedicated to being the best he could be. Jim Ridley, a legendary baseball scout, his name's on the top award, never to be forgotten. Leo Stickle, not only doing the job of linesman in the NHL, but teaching a new generation just how to do the job. Janet Campbell, a tireless promoter, coach, and trailblazer in the gymnastic community. Neil Teague, a baseball player, developer, and promoter. I'm humbled by the dedication of so many coming from our little town. It was my uncle being inducted, Cliff Houston, that made me think there's nothing worth doing unless it's done with 100% of everything you got. You don't hold back, you give everything you got. And so I'd like you please to rise with me in welcoming these fine builders and athletes to Milton's 100% Club, the Sports Hall of Fame. Please stand. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. You guys are fantastic. And here's to Milton's community. Let's make it strong. Thank you.
Just before we close tonight, I just want you to take a look back at the screens if we could, please. These, one more time, are our sponsors, our platinum sponsors. They're in all of our programs. We have our gold sponsors as well, and our silver sponsors. A big hand for everybody who helped put this show together. Thanks so much, Scott. Those were awesome words to close things out, and thanks for getting everybody up on their feet, because I think that the night deserved that. The night deserved that. There's 10 minutes left in the silent auction, and we did see a lot of bids out there. So again, when you made the left-hand turn outside of the auditorium to go to where the plaques are, to the right is where the silent auction is. That's going to close up about 10 minutes from now, because the show closes in about 2 minutes. So there's going to be a clock on the front on our podium. How do you like our digital podium? Isn't that the coolest innovation? So there's going to be a clock here. Is it not there? No, not yet. Okay, good. Don't forget that we do have the 2020 camp coming up, so we hope to see even more kids at the summer sports camp, July 20 to 24th of next year. And of course, we want everybody to return. Before I ask this, before I promote this next thing, did you have fun here tonight? Then we want to see everybody return for the 2020. Next year's going to be the 5th. The 5th. That's right. The 5th edition of this, the 2020 induction ceremony. That is, mark it down, I did, Thursday, November 19th of 2020. Thursday, November 19th, right here in this auditorium. For further information about the nomination deadline as well as sponsorship opportunities, visit us at milton.ca. That's the town's website. You can also go through that portal and find an email. Bar remains open until 10 p.m. Reminder, as always, to please drink responsibly. On behalf, once again, of the Milton Sports Hall of Fame, directors, and those who have helped put this show together tonight, we would like to congratulate the induction class of 2019. Athlete Neil Teague. Builder Janet Campbell. Builder Jim Ridley. Athlete Darren Haydar. and builder Leon Stickle. From the 2019 Milton Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony, thank you everyone, and good night.
Hush now, child, and don't cry. Your folks might understand you by and by. Just move on up toward your destination. Though you